What matters to God? Love. God is love, right?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to watch a part of a homily that Bishop Barron gave a week ago. If you want to watch the full homily, it's in the link in the description below. So we're going to watch the intro so we get the main idea of what he's talking about, and then I want to jump ahead to the part where he talks about the gospel and Jesus, and we'll see how that connects. This is the Daily Dose of Christ, after all, so I want to get to that specific point. Let's go.
Peace be with you. Friends, our readings for this 18th Sunday of Ordinary Time, they're marvelous. They're about this theme that's so basic to the spiritual life, and the theme is detachment. I want to get into it, though, by referencing a song. I go on a lot of long car trips now in my diocese. So I go from Wisconsin to South Dakota. So I'm in the car a lot. And I listen to books on tape a lot. Books on tape. I'm dating myself. But I have, my iPhone, and I'll ask for music. And so I'm a big, as you know, Bob Dylan fan. But after Bob Dylan, probably I like the Beatles the best. And a lot of classic rock, the Rolling Stones and the Who and Van Morrison, and, that's my thing. Well, as you know, these machines, they learn our preferences. So she's listened to me, asking for Beatles songs all the time. Now I find almost any time I ask for a song, the second or third one that comes up afterwards is George Harrison's song, All Things Must Pass. Now, of course, for the young kids, ask your grandparents about George Harrison, but he was one of the Beatles. And right after the Beatles broke up, Harrison comes out with this marvelous double album called All Things Must Pass. And the title song is born of his Hindu, interest. And it's about the evanescence of everything in the world. All things must pass. So, the sunset doesn't last all evening. The nighttime doesn't last forever. And then the great chorus, all things must pass. All things must pass away. It's an interesting thing. I hear that song so often now. I've gone home to my home and I have my guitar. I'm not a great guitar player. I'm like a campfire guitar player, but I can play songs and chords. And so I looked up All Things Must Pass. And it's an interesting thing that as it goes into the chorus, which is a very singable chorus, but usually as you make that transition, it gives you a major chord that draws everybody in. Well, All Things Must Pass goes to a minor chord, to B minor, as it goes into the chorus, which gives it that kind of moody quality. All things must pass. All things must pass away. Look, almost every major philosopher, almost every major religious figure the world over has intuited this great truth about our world. Good, and yes, there are good things in it, but they don't last. They don't endure. Sunset, a beautiful sunset, lasts for a while. We exult in it, and then it's gone. Our meal that we're enjoying immensely, and we eat it with great pleasure, and then in a couple of minutes, it's gone. A great conversation. You're with a friend and you're sharing your life at a deep level and you're just loving this conversation, finding it very interesting, wonderful, and then it's over. Maybe, most poignantly, it's with a piece of music. The way music is structured, not like a sculpture that you can at least see for a long time. Music comes and it goes, doesn't it? I mean, the notes sort of flow past you. You're listening to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony or some marvelous thing, and then it's over. All things must pass. All things must pass away. That's life.
So we can see what the point that he's making. The things of this world, the things of this life are transient, but the things of God are eternal. Let's now see how he connects this to Jesus and the gospel reading.
Now, with all that in mind, let's look briefly at the gospel, Jesus' great parable. He told them a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, what shall I do? I don't have space to store my harvest. So here's a guy, very successful. We'd say today, he's a private equity investor who just made tons and tons of money, and he's got homes and cars and vacation homes and all that. What will I do? I know, I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones. There I shall store all my grain and all the goods, and say to myself, you've got many good things stored up for years to come. eat, drink, and be merry. Okay. See, it's an image of somebody who's clinging desperately to this world, who's going to find his satisfaction in all the things that he possesses. And, I'll just build a bigger barn and there'll be more and more room and I'll never run out. Think of someone, a billionaire. I couldn't spend all this money in a lifetime. I got everything I need. All things must pass. Listen, but God said to him, you fool, this night your life will be demanded of you. And the things you prepared, to whom will they belong? There it is. Yeah, my whole life's been about storing up all the goods of the world. Yeah, but man, tonight, you're going to die. All of it's gone. All of it will fall into someone else's hands, someone that you don't even know, maybe. Listen now. Thus it will be for all who store up treasure for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God. Now, let's get down to brass tacks as I close. What matters to God? Love. God is love, right? Heaven is the place where love obtains radically. That's what heaven means. What lasts? I'll quote Cardinal George again here. The only things we take with us into heaven are the things we've given away on earth. He doesn't mean like, okay, if I give away all these cars and houses and so I'll have them in heaven. What he means is it's that attitude of giving away. That's the substance of heaven. There are three things that last, right? St. Paul said. And that's what we want. All things must pass in this world. Okay, so what lasts? Paul says three things: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Why? Because in heaven, I don't need faith. I'll see. I don't need hope because I've realized my goal. But what will last? Love. Love is what heaven is. And so look up George Harrison's song. Listen to it. Read the book of Kohelet. They're making the same point. And then say, all right, so what does last? Love. The things of heaven. What is above, not what's here on earth. Keep the eyes of your soul fixed there, and you'll find the treasure you're looking for. And God bless you.
One of the main things that I was thinking about as Bishop Barron was talking is that there is a great problem with a fixation upon the temporal things of this life. And I think the necessary connection is that if you're so focused on the temporal, blessings, the temporal, tasks of the day, it can keep you from living a life fixated upon the future and the hope that we have in Jesus Christ and actually loving other people. To have a nearsighted view of the world is to probably not live into love. You have to be living for the future in order to give yourself away. I think that's something that we see throughout the Bible, and especially personified within Jesus Christ himself. This is kind of a tough thing to think about, right? It's very easy within the world to get stuck on kind of the day-to-day stuff, and I'm personally that way. Like, one of the examples I was thinking about is I love little satisfactions that I get every day. I love waking up in the morning and getting my coffee. And that is kind of a temporary satisfaction that day after day after day after day after day, if I'm just going to keep going, that provides me a little temporary high. But the problem is, you see, is that if we live into those things, we don't live for the greater purpose for which God has called us. Again, I don't think one of the things that I think people, they can be all or nothing or either or on these things. So they think that, okay, well, they get convicted, I guess, and they try to throw away all of those temporal things. But what I find is that if you do that to an extreme, you actually become legalistic and you actually become prideful because you are a sinful human, and you start to look at your own self and you start to look at what you're doing, which is you're forsaking everything that you would want. It's really not that. It's kind of it's more of a priority. So you put Jesus first, you put loving other people first, and then you enjoy the temporary benefits of the life that you find yourself in. So I guess what I'm saying is you don't want to go on the extreme of trying to sever absolutely every little temporal blessing in your life, because God gives you those things, and those things are great gifts. But you would never want to exchange the temporary things of this life, the transient things, for the greater things of life, which is love. You should always be giving of yourself. You should always be giving yourself away. We see that perfectly personified in Jesus Christ. He perfectly did it for us. And we are called to do the same thing. We are called to take up our cross and follow Him. A perfect example of this is our closest relationships, our marriage relationships, our relationships that we have to our kids. That really is a sacrificial, canonic, self-emptying type of relationship, and those are the best ones because we don't get anything in return from them. That reminds me of something that I read from Dr. Peter Kraft just the other day. Let me see if I can find it real quick because I think it'll be a great benefit to us all here. See if I can get to it quick. He says this, and it's from a reading of Isaiah 55, 1 through 3 on the 18th Sunday in Ordinary Time. This is cycle A. It's just one, I'm not even sure which cycle that the Catholic Church is on, but I found this extremely helpful. Isaiah 55 is talking about the free gift of God's love and grace that we receive. It literally says, all you who are thirsty, come to the water. All you who have no money, come receive grain and eat. So you have nothing to give God, and He has everything. He gives everything to you. He is this love that needs nothing in return. Bishop Barron talks about this, but notice the reflection, the observation of Peter Kraft. He says Jean-Paul Sartre, the cynical, pessimistic, atheistic philosopher of the mid 20th century, said that there is no such thing as genuine altruistic love. That whenever anyone gives any gift to anyone else, it always has strings attached. That to accept a gift is to compromise your freedom because now you owe the giver something and the giver has more control over you. So if you accept a free gift, it isn't free at all. You give up your freedom. Isn't that a wonderful explanation of why Christian why give Christmas presents to our kids? To enslave them? So he's making the point of the fact that there is this weird position within modern, postmodern skeptical philosophy that sees freedom as the ultimate good, and that to receive love or to receive grace means you're not free because now you're enslaved to the other person. And then he tries to connect this and he's trying to connect it to God. Do you think God is that way? I find that absolutely fascinating. It'll be interesting to see how I try to connect this together. Let me read you this part too. It says, there are three kinds of people. Some are selfish and stingy. Uh, some are selfish and stingy, like Scrooge. Some are clever and manipulative, like Sartre. But most are innocent and honest and unselfish, sometimes heroically so. As when someone sacrifices many hundreds of hours of time taking care of an aging parent out of love and loyalty and gratitude. So, obviously, the third person is the type of person that we are to be. And I think this is ultimately what Bishop Barron is saying here at the end, that if we are to give ourselves away out of loyalty, love, and gratitude, that is heroic, first off. And I often talk about the mundane, living in the mundane and being a hero in the mundane. And I think that's so important. It's not like you have to go and save the world. You just have to be a faithful presence in the world that God has given you, in the place and the relationships that He has given you. And you love in that way. We're not to be clever. We're not to be stingy. I guess that legalism that I was talking about would be something like a Scrooge. And neither should we like philosophize ourselves out of just doing simple acts of love like Sartre, because it's my freedom or all this kind of stuff. Love. Love remains. Love remains in the immediate, as Bishop Barron is talking about here. Faith and hope go alongside love, and eventually those will even s, to use his terminology there. But love always remains because God is love. It's what He freely gives, and I guess this is how we connect it to Jesus. Let Him love you. Let Him give you His grace. Don't see yourself as owing something to Jesus because there's nothing that you could ultimately give to Jesus. Literally accept His love and overflow in His love into other people. Give it to other people. So it's not necessarily your love, it's the love that you have received through God and through the indwelling Holy Spirit within you. Again, this is tough. I think this can sound very idealistic, and many people can like the ideal and just leave it as an ideal and not begin to practice it. It'll be a very, very difficult thing to practice, the hardest thing you will ever do. It is literally to get out of yourself and into the world where you can be used by God as a vessel and an instrument of his loving grace. There is nothing more difficult, but there is nothing more essential. And I do think, kind of to rebut Sartre here, I do think that the greatest freedom is not in protecting your own individual freedom. The greatest freedom is by getting outside of yourself into this love. And so I think that his way of thinking about things is a complete role reversal. It's a complete reversal of what will actually make you satisfied, fulfilled, and such. And I think that's kind of what Dr. Peter Kraft is getting at. Okay, I will leave it at that. Remember that we are to love other people in the same way that we have received the love from Jesus Christ. And remember that Christianity is Christ, and without him, there is no Christianity. Be thinking about him today. This is your daily dose of him. I'll see you the next time. Peace.